What's going on, folks? If you've been following me for a while, I'm sure you're aware I'm kind of an unapologetic fan of the fight game. I love the UFC, boxing, wrestling, MMA, the whole spectrum, really. And there's some fights today. There's actually some really good fights today. It is the third event of UFC Fight Island, if you're aware at all. And, I talk about so much dystopian, technology-filled stuff. This was kind of just something to see if my followers are fans of the fight game as well. Maybe we can chop it up, exchange a couple of ideas and just see how your picks are, man. See how well invested you know your sport, how well you know your craft, really. But I'm just going to talk about the last three fights of the night, the main event and the co-main event, and then the one before that, which is a sleeper fight, I really believe. And it's by an individual. This is 155 pounds here, right? But one of these individuals can really throw some heat, and that's Mark Jacasey, who's coming in 14-3-0. He's from American Top Team. Dude is an absolute killer in the ring, and his last win was over, what's his name? Lando Venata. There we go. Lando Venata, the slickster, throwing crazy kicks, doing the whole nine. Last one was a unanimous decision over him. And he's supposed to have 3 fights that have been canceled, 1 by Corona and 2 by withdrawals of his opponent. So I'm expecting some fireworks for this fight, and I'm going with Jacasey with a round 2 knockout. I think it's going to be devastating fashion. His opponent is Rafael Fiziev, and he's 7-1. I don't really know too much about this guy, and that's the thing about these UFC cards right now, the Fight Island cards, are that they're bringing a lot of prospects out. They're bringing a lot of UFC debuters and people that haven't really been regulars in the UFC circuit as of late. But that's a sleeper fight. I don't really have too much to talk about for that fight specifically, but that is a sleeper fight, and I would expect to see some fireworks for sure. Now, the next fight is probably my favorite fight of the night. And this is, and what I'm looking at, folks, I got my whole fight book right here. I got all my picks and everything, a couple notes and details and whatnot. But what's really interesting about this fight are these two dudes are coming from opposite spectrums. One became a big name because he's fought some big names, hasn't always won, but he's made it incredibly exciting. And the other one is a young up-and-comer who is an absolute savage by the name of Jack Hermansson. So he's fighting Kelvin Gastelum. And if you're any type of UFC fan, even just kind of one of those, how would you say, like a casual fan, who only knows McGregor and the big names, you probably heard of Kelvin Gastelum. He's had some championship fights. He just fought Israel Adesanya, who is a champion right now, one of our few, I think our 2 Nigerian champions in the UFC right now. Listen, man, Kelvin Gastelum, let me pull it up because I got records right here, and I use Tapology. I don't know how many people are really dedicated like that, but Tapology has all of the resources that you could potentially need right at the tips of your fingertips. You know what I'm saying? But Kelvin Gastelum, he's coming off of 2 big losses. His last fight was from Darren Till, you know what I mean, the UK Savage, and Israel Adesanya, 2 killers. He's literally coming off of 2 killers. He was supposed to fight Robert Whittaker. That didn't happen. But then he had 2 wins, Ronaldo Souza and Michael Bisping. And, given the name Bisping, who is now a commentator, you can see, man, he hasn't been fighting very, very much over, last year, 2 years or so, maybe 2 fights a year, something like that. But even though he's coming off of these 2 losses, his loss to Till was a split decision loss, which could have gone either way, very close fight. But I'm a big Darren Till fan, so, I'm going to pull for that victory. And then a unanimous decision loss for the championship against Israel Adesanya. So it's kind of tough to root for him right now, especially when Jack Hermansson, absolute beast, he's coming off of a loss as well, don't get me wrong, but before that, 4 straight wins, paving his way towards a championship bout with this win over Gastelum. And to make note, Dana White, the president of the UFC, he did say that if Kelvin Gastelum wins, lose, draw, whatever happens tonight, he's going to remain in the top 10. So that shows you he is a name, and he's a, whatever the stigma may be, he is a gatekeeper of that UFC championship belt. I picked Kelvin Gastelum, man. The man has a track record. The man has a history of coming and performing and showing up to fight on most nights. There have been a couple of performances, been a little lackluster. But, if we're taking an aggregate, Gastelum just can't be counted out. Hermansson is probably going to be the smart money bet. I don't have the odds in front of me at the moment, but Gastelum, I think he's going to pull out decision win. If I was really being ambitious tonight, I would say he was going to come out for the knockout because Gastelum is one of the hardest hitting fighters in the UFC. period. Point blank, period. 185 middleweight bout. Probably going to be the most exciting fight of the night, or it'll be one of the most boring, in all honesty, because these two could possibly just wrestle it out. You know, Gastelum has incredible boxing, but Hermanson could probably force the clinch and wrestle this one out. So, last fight of the night, main event, is going to be a rematch. And if you're familiar, if you watched the first fight, you saw that Davison Figueiredo is a absolute monster, but he's also had some PED allegations going on. And Chris Stamen, or Cody Stamen, I believe his name, he just fought on Wednesday, lost to I can't put a name off the top of my head, man. Really, it was an interesting fight, but he was a little bit out of his league in his last fight. But he came out and said that Figueiredo looks a little smaller, like he's off the juice. And, you know, there's been stark, drastic differences in fighters as of late, especially with the USADA era, you know, pre-juice and post-juice. So if there's any merit to what Cody Stamen had said, then I'm going to have to go with Benavidez on this fight. You know, the last fight warranted a rematch, and even Dana White agreed with that, you know. So this one, I think this is going to be a master class, because I think Joseph Benavidez, he's an older fighter. When, you know, he was fighting for championships when Demetrius Johnson was like running his division, you know what I'm saying? So at that 125 pounds, I think this is going to be a long fought 5-round decision win, squeaked out by Benavidez. And this could even go to be, you know, a split decision. It could come incredibly close, but I'm going Benavidez, decision win. So, and just to go over it, just for, you know, clarity for my main event, it's going to be very boring. I'm going to have 4 decision wins and 1 knockout, right? So first fight of that main event, Alejandro Pantoja versus Askar Askarov, 125 pounds. I'm going Askarov there. Ariane Lipski versus Luana Carolina. I'm going Lipski on that one, decision win. And then, like I said, you know, Jacasey versus Fizev. Jacasey, knockout, second round knockout. Hermanson versus Gastelum, going decision win by Gastelum. And lastly, Figueiredo versus Benavidez. I'm going decision win by Benavidez. Now, we will see if my picks hold up or if I will go 0 for 5, because there is, you know, in a fight game, it's a 50-50 chance, man. The smart pick could be winning 98% of the fight and then end up getting knocked out in the last 2 seconds. Anything can happen in the octagon. But I thought this would just be a cool little something to talk about. And if you have any opinions on the fight, if you want to talk in more detail, please hit me up. And we'll see, man. If this one goes accordingly, then we might start doing this for more fights that pop up, sporting type coverage and whatnot. But, you know, until next time.